So I was reading an article the other day from the Sacramento Bee, Sacramento, California. So that's the capital of California. For those of you who don't know, I lived in California for a while. And the Sacramento Bee did a study where they talked about, do police actually make us safer, or is it just something that we assume? A lot of people believe that the police are actually out doing police work because they're necessary and they're needed. But they actually did a study, and they actually did all these surveys and reports and this data with statistics. And they found out that 89% of all police interactions were actually police driven, were actually police oriented, which means only 11% of involvement of police was actually by somebody calling into the police department or a follow-up with an investigation about a crime that had actually committed. So 89% of police interactions with communities are absolutely driven by police. They're making up reasons to interact with you because they're hoping and praying they find something. That 11% that's actual real crimes that are happening, or follow-ups to somebody calling in about something that's not right in their community, that's actually where I want the police to actually be putting their work. 89% of police interactions with communities are started by the police. That's crazy. You know what? That's like a doctor saying, I have 10 patients and 9 of them I'm gonna do I'm gonna take out their appendix whether or not they need to have their appendix removed or not. That's absolutely crazy. That's asinine. We can't keep going on like this. People think that people who want to defund the police are nuts. They're not nuts. They're actually people who actually are looking at the bigger problems and the bigger issues and looking at the numbers. If you have, like I said, if you're a doctor and you have 10 patients and 9 of them you take out their appendix whether or not they need it, you would lose your license. Well, police do that every day. They pull over or start some kind of interaction with somebody on some kind of level 90% of the time. 89 is the same thing as 90 to me, 90% of the time. You wanna know why they do that? Because police don't do as much police work as we want to believe that they do. We want to believe they're actually out there solving crimes, but I will tell you, police actually solve very few crimes. Even murder, you have a 50-50 chance of actually getting away with it. That's crazy to me. You know, people always talk about, well, that's such hard police work to do to find the people who commit murder. There are very few places in America that doesn't have surveillance everywhere. There is almost no crime that's committed where you don't leave DNA, where you don't leave a trace, where you don't actually leave all kinds of evidence that proves that you did it. If you call into the police about a crime that happened in your community, I will tell you, this is what's gonna be frustrating for you. It's less than 10% chance that actually the police will be able to solve the crime. Whether it's somebody stealing your bike, somebody breaking into your house, somebody setting your shed on fire, they do very little to actually solve crimes. Pulling people over and interacting with people at a traffic stop, that's actually a pretty easy, no-brainer kind of thing to do, that police do, because it's easy. It looks like they're doing something when in reality they're not doing something. Less than 10% of the time, when an actual crime has happened, the police will actually be able to solve it. Less than 50% of murders are actually solved. That's crazy. There's no reason for that. If police actually focused on solving crimes, the numbers would go up. Most interactions that happen with police don't need to happen. Most police stops that happen, traffic offenses, get pulled over for stuff that's just asinine. Somebody didn't know their tail light was out. Guess what? They did not know their tail light was out. Somebody going 5 miles over the speed limit is not them killing somebody. There is a big difference between somebody reckless driving and somebody speeding a little bit over the speed limit. If somebody's reckless driving where literally they could kill somebody, okay, fine. But somebody driving a little bit over the speed limit on the highway, I'm not too concerned about that. You know, do you ever have speed traps, and we have tons of them around here, where you have different elevations up and down, stuff like that, but they keep the speed limit the same? Well, your car goes up and down, it's gonna pick up speed and reduce speed just because you're traveling at different elevations. We shouldn't be giving people tickets for that, but we do. We pull over people for asinine, made-up reasons when we could actually work on actually solving real crimes. Most crimes, if you're lucky, 4, 5, 6% of them will be solved. If you're lucky, you have a 50-50 chance of murders being solved. what's funny to me is when the Sacramento Bee did this report, and they actually had several reporters investigate this, and they actually pulled a lot of data and looked at a lot of reports and stuff, they were actually shocked by the numbers. I'm not shocked by the numbers. 89% of police interaction with the public is stuff that they instigate. It's stuff that they orchestrate. It's stuff that probably doesn't need to be done, except that it's showing their dominance. It's showing their power. It's showing that people need to respect and obey them and be in fear of them. You don't, they work for you. I would much rather police work on that 11% that's actual real crimes. You know, the phone calls that actually come in, the crimes that have actually committed, and there's actually a report and then investigation needs to happen. I would rather the police work on those 11% because that's where the real problems are. That's the stuff that would actually make a difference in every community in America. Pulling people over for stupid stuff, it needs to end. There's a reason why people are fearful when they get pulled over by cops, because a lot of times they don't know whether or not the cop is a good cop or a bad cop, if the cop has an attitude, if the cop doesn't like them because they're black, if the cop doesn't like them because they're gay, if the cop doesn't like them because they're a woman and they might be able to get over on them. People are fearful for cops for a lot of reasons. We have to change the system. We can't keep giving them all this authority and all this power and say, you know what? You don't really need to solve the real crime, the real problems. You don't need to really do that 11% that is actual and real in the community. You can make up this other 89% of your work and pretend that you're doing something. We deserve better. Defund the cop, defund police wants things to change. It needs to change. It's not working now. The only thing working now is the police are getting more powerful. People don't question them, they obey them. You're not supposed to obey people. Slavery ended 130 damn years ago. It's over with. But I will tell you, most communities are very much slaves to the police. The police are their masters, and they tell them when to jump and how to behave and how to act. And hey boy, if I'm talking to you, you better pay attention to me, and I don't like your tone. That's bullshit. It doesn't matter if a cop likes your tone or doesn't like your attitude or the way you're talking to them. They don't need to be interacting with you to begin with. Making up a dumbass reason why they pulled you over makes them believe that somehow they're clear. They're not clear. 89% of the time, the police are pulling you over because they're bored. They're pulling you over because they're hoping and praying that you have done something that they can actually get you for. We need to change the way we look at this. 11% of the time is all that the police are actually working on for the real cause, for the real actual crimes that have happened. I want that to flip. The real stuff, I want the police to start putting 90% of their effort into that. And the little stupid nuisance pulling over people, talking to them, engaging them, and starting stuff, that needs to be less than 10% of the time. That doesn't need to be all the damn time. And it is now. We need to change it.